time. We on the Teach with TVW team will explain to you the ins and outs of the legislative process. How much power does the majority party have? What do the prime sponsors of bills do to get their bills to the finish line? We might also work some long hours learning about how legislators are working together to solve the problems that we as a state are facing. You've heard of policy committees and you've heard of fiscal committees, but one critical step in the legislative process that many have not heard of is the Rules Committee. So, we spoke with Speaker Jenkins, the chair of the Rules Committee in the House, and Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck, the chair in the Senate, about how it functions and why this committee has historically been shrouded in mystery, earning the reputation as the gatekeeper.
The last committee that every bill stops at before it can move to the floor of the House is the Rules Committee.
The Rules Committee is the committee that schedules all bills for floor action by the entire Senate.
The members who are on that committee get to choose bills that are going to be eligible to be voted on the floor.
They convene in this room. It's the Rules Committee meeting room. And we can take several actions. First of all, there is a gubernatorial appointment calendar that we can place on the floor calendar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move that the gubernatorial appointments on the lilac sheet titled Proposed Gubernatorial Package Pull be advanced to the confirmation calendar.
There is a second reading calendar.
Senator Riccelli.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. I move that the committee advance 5528 from the white sheet to the second reading calendar.
And then there's something known as a consent calendar.
Senator Peterson moves that the proposed consent calendar package poll on the pink sheet be placed on the consent calendar. All understand the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
On the consent calendar are bills that have no opposition, that fly through unanimously. They're the easy ones. And then the fourth thing that can happen here is that we have what we call polls. And that's simply where we go around the room and each member gets to move that a certain bill be placed on the floor calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 5014 advance from the white sheet to the floor calendar.
There's been a real evolution in the role that the Rules Committee plays over a long period of time. The Rules Committee used to always be referred to, and I mean always, as the all-powerful Rules Committee. And that is because it was a place where lots of bills went to die. All its deliberations were in secret, so lots of things could go on there with no transparency. But today it really functions largely as an administrative entity under the control largely of the majority party to simply schedule things. Not that many bills die on the Rules Committee anymore.
We don't hear any public testimony. We don't have any arguments or debates about bills, and the Rules Committee doesn't adopt amendments or anything like that. Basically, I just call each member by name. They make a motion for what bill they would like pulled. I repeat the motion. I ask all those in favor to say aye. Everyone always says aye. I ask all those in favor to say no. No one ever says no, and we move to the next bill.
The motion is been moved and seconded that House Bill 1616 be placed on the second reading floor calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The motion carries.
There is kind of an unspoken understanding, I think, in rules that while Republicans may object to a bill that the Democrats pull and vice versa with Republican bills, that objection plays itself out in a floor debate, not in a debate in rules. We don't debate the substance of bills in rules. At least that has not happened since I've been Speaker.
It's all televised, it's all open. In fact, there's quite a bit of pride in the Senate for having opened up the deliberations of the Rules Committee for the world to see.
Currently, in 2025, the House Rules Committee has 24 total members, 15 Democrats and 9 Republicans. In the Senate Rules Committee, there are 17 total members, 11 Democrats and 6 Republicans.
We try to have a diversity of members from different committees there. We have an informal rule that committee chairs cannot sit on the Rules Committee because they have a lot of power in their committee to decide what bills move and what bills don't move. So it tends to be more line members, but coming from a diverse group of committees. All the members of the leadership team are on rules. We don't ever have a rules committee meeting unless there are enough Republican bills for every Republican member to have at least one bill that they pull, and every Democratic member to have at least one bill that they pull.
Bills do die in the Rules Committee, and they die there for a variety of reasons. One reason may be that the counterpart bill from the other chamber is already farther along in the process. It may be that the contents of that bill were absorbed in another bill. It may be that it just doesn't have the votes. It could be any of a variety of reasons for it to meet its untimely death in the Rules Committee meeting.
The way you get your bill chosen to be pulled from the Rules Committee is if you identify a Rules Committee member who believes your bill is ready to go to the floor. What generally happens if a member has a bill that's moved into the Rules Committee, then you become, as a member, you become a lobbyist for your bill, right? You're lobbying to you're talking to Rules Committee members and saying, would you prioritize my bill as the first bill?
Seems less powerful than it once did. Again, it used to be a real stringent gatekeeper, and a lot of measures wouldn't get through it. It's just not so much the case anymore. Gatekeeping now can happen at the actual committee level.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it.
It is exciting. Amazing.
Great to see you. You were done with the big one, right? You may have to. Can you guys direct folks to come on back? Can you grab folks and send them around to come on back? Yeah. Yep. And yeah, feel free to fill in these.
Why don't you go ahead and stand on the other side of the...
No, let's move that table. Jim, let's move that table up a few inches. Can we move it ahead? Yeah. I think that might create a little space. Perfect. That's good. Yep.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. I'm Communications Director Brianna Aho with Governor Ferguson's office. I'm just going to go briefly through who you'll be hearing from this morning. And people who are watching, if you can just take your photos and maybe step to the side just so we don't block those cameras back there. Thank you so much. So first you'll hear from Annie Barker from Armoire, who's hosting us today. Then Governor Bob Ferguson will speak. Then Brittany Gregory, the Executive Director of the Washington State Women's Commission. Then April Haberman, that's Haberman, CEO and founder of Midovia, Midovia. Then Dr. Naomi Bush, founder of Seattle Menopause Medicine. Then Saray Childs from Seattle Chamber of Commerce. And then the governor will return to sign the executive order. With that, Annie Barker. Sorry, I lost
Oh, sorry, my glasses. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. I'm Annie Barker. I lead community engagement for Armoire. It's a Seattle-based clothing rental membership founded and led by women for women. We armor women with the clothes that make them feel confident and powerful in their careers, with their families, and in every moment of their lives. We're here today because the governor is signing an executive order that is going to improve conditions for women in the workplace during perimenopause and menopause. And I'm so proud that Armoire is part of this historic moment. I'll hand it over to the governor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annie. And we were chatting before, and I think you said 10-year anniversary of this location is...
Of the company.
Of the company is happening. So round of applause for this fantastic company. And we often do press conferences, as we have, I know, Senator Orwell is here, and we often do press conferences down in Olympia, of course, which is nice. Sometimes we do them out in the community. This one may be one of the best locations yet, right? This is pretty fantastic, and so appreciate so many folks who are turning out for this. It's great to see. It's great to see you all. Today, I am signing an executive order to support women in the workplace who experience perimenopause and menopause symptoms. Like too many issues around women's health, we don't talk much about menopause, and certainly not from a podium with government leaders standing in support. We believe this is one of the most comprehensive single pieces of policy put forward to date, combining both worker protections with increasing health profession education on perimenopause and menopause. The issue is pretty clear. Menopause will impact half our population at some point in their lives, yet women are too often left to navigate this change alone. In the United States, 75% of women work during their menopause years. The Mayo Clinic estimates productivity losses due to menopausal symptoms total approximately $1.8 billion nationwide. The Society for Women's Health Research has found that 2 in 5 women considered leaving their job or did leave a job due to those symptoms. And 1 in 4 considered not pursuing or did not pursue a leadership opportunity due to menopause symptoms. Stated another way, we are losing people in the workforce with tremendous knowledge, tremendous experience. We are losing their voices in leadership because we are not doing enough to prepare for a natural stage of life that impacts half our population. Support for those experiencing menopause is an issue of fairness. It's an issue of equity, and is certainly an economic issue as well. The Washington law against discrimination protects people in our state from discrimination, including in the workforce. But that said, we should not be relying on a patchwork of employer accommodations to plan for something we know will impact half our population. We must do more to support women and to support employers who want to keep their experienced staff in the workforce. That's why I'm issuing an executive order today to ensure my cabinet agencies have appropriate measures in place to support state employees experiencing menopause symptoms. I'm directing the Washington State Women's Commission to work with our cabinet agencies to identify best practices and adopt or update policies related to supporting employees who are experiencing symptoms. I'm also directing the Women's Commission to develop training materials on menopause and perimenopause accommodations. The Commission will also ensure cabinet agencies, management, and employees are trained on their rights and on their responsibilities. The Commission will work with the Department of Health, the Healthcare Authority, and the BREE Collaborative to draft guidance and resources for other public and private employers all across Washington State. We'll also work with the Department of Health and the relevant medical boards to provide training credits on menopause education for healthcare providers. As governor, my administration will be a place where workers can serve the people of Washington and know they will be supported. And we'll share this expertise and guidance with employers all across our state so they can better support their workers as well. It's a real pleasure to be here today with so many folks supporting this important action. We appreciate all the work that you do in this space to support people all across our state. And now it's a real honor to introduce our next speaker, Brittany Gregory, who again is the Executive Director of the Washington State Women's Commission. Please give her a big round of applause.
Thank you, Governor Ferguson, and thank you to all of you for being here this morning. This work started for our commission late last year when our commissioners and health committee members started hearing stories from women across the state that during one of the most intense physiological developments of their lifetime, they had nowhere to turn. Their doctors did not have answers when they were having heart palpitations and panic attacks and experiencing other uncommon symptoms during perimenopause, and their workplaces had no accommodations. When due to lack of sleep, they were having their memory and cognition and their very comfort in their own bodies impacted. But they did what women have always done. They turned towards one another. They found support in one another, and in partnership with the Women's Commission, we got to work. We started having conversations and creating more resources. Right now in Washington, there are 600,000 women in our workforce that are between the ages of 40 and 59. That's 600,000 women who are navigating perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause without the supports they need to stay in work, to support their families, and support the Washington economy. By issuing an executive-level directive to create standard for menopause accommodations in the workplace, we become one of the first states to say that women should not have to suffer in silence. And that is important, and that is something that we should be proud of. 48% of our workforce are women. Our state workforce are women, with women heavily represented in public sector roles. So I can think of no better place to start than our cabinet agencies. The Women's Commission looks forward to partnering with our cabinet agencies and then eventually other public and private employees to stop the loss of talent, leadership, and economic strength that has come from stigmatizing and silencing menopause. I am honored now to introduce our next speaker, trailblazer in this field, April Haberman, CEO and founder of Medovia.
Good morning, everyone. And first, I want to say thank you to Governor Ferguson for bringing us to this moment, and for everyone that has worked so hard for us to be here together. This is a historical day, and I think I'd just like to take a moment to say, wow, the work that I do and helping support workplaces, this truly is a moment where I feel like we can finally breathe. So thank you for the breath. I want to start off by sharing my personal story, because it is the reason why I get up every single day and do the work that I do. In my early 40s, I experienced heavy periods to the point where I couldn't leave my home. I was in the menstrual health space, so I spent over a decade learning, training, educating others about menstrual health, and yet I didn't know what was happening to my body at the time. It took me several months of medications, and a biopsy, an ultrasound, and eventually a surgical ablation to stop my flow. Over the course of the next year and a half, I started experiencing other menopause symptoms. Brain fog, couldn't remember, my coworker's name. I had hot flashes, night sweats, high anxiety and irritability, which is not like my personality. And I truly thought that I was going crazy. The story that I was telling myself is that I had early onset dementia, truly. I was convinced, you Google it, but really it was a routine visit to my GP that really changed the trajectory. It was a pelvic exam, and my GP said, we should take a blood test. And then she said, honey, you are on the other side of menopause. I didn't know what that meant. Menopause meant nothing to me in my early 40s, and I, quite frankly, I was shocked. My OBGYN never said the word menopause. It didn't come up in conversation. What saved me is the flexibility that I had with my job. I worked remote, so I was before the time of COVID, when everyone was doing that, but I had the flexibility to stay in my home. I had the flexibility to work and take care of my period. I had the flexibility to visit my physician when needed, and that flexibility is what saved my career. Had I not had that flexibility, I would have quit my job. Once I understood what was happening to my body, I was able to take hormone therapy, I was able to care for myself, but that was a 2-year trajectory. It took me 2 years of suffering to realize what was happening to my body. And unlike my story, thousands of other women don't have that option. As it was just noted, over 600,000 women here in Washington State are going through the menopause transition naturally. We hear from women like this every single day in the work that we do. What we know is that women are missing work every month. They're reducing their hours to part-time. They're not taking that promotion, and they're quitting work altogether. 1 in 10 women quit the workplace due to menopause symptoms. I just had a woman that came up to me after a conference. She was in tears, and she was suffering from severe migraines. For every single month for 2 years, she knew that she was religiously going to take her medication and that she was going to miss 2 days of work because of her migraines. She had no idea that migraines were just one symptom that could occur during menopause and that there might be another solution for her That's lost income, and that's lost productivity for her employer. I had another tenured office manager. She had been with her practice for years and years and years. She was well respected. She said that she started experiencing extreme anxiety to the point where she couldn't manage simple schedule changes. She couldn't interact with individuals that she was supervising. So instead of getting the support that she needed in the workplace, she was placed on a performance improvement plan. She lost her job. She lost her income. And that employer absorbed the cost of hiring, recruiting, training her replacement, which can cost 2 to 3 times an annual salary. Those are missed opportunities. And I could share hundreds of other stories with you. Medovia has collected over 10,000 employee surveys over the course of the year, and we know what's happening with women in the workplace. We know that most women don't have the education, the information that they need to make healthy choices for their overall well-being, to have those conversations with their physicians. We also know that they don't have access to menopause specialized care for the most part. And women are suffering in silence and stigma because the organizations don't have policies and structures in place so that they can be supported. So they're suffering in silence for fear of losing their jobs. There is good news here. The good news is that we know what works. And the employers that are getting this right are implementing simple practical changes like flexible working environments so that we can take time off when those symptoms flare. We know that women can take, in these organizations, can take a step back. They can take a break just to breathe if they need to. Breathable uniforms, speaking of breathing, changing uniforms, or collecting and organizing peer support groups so that women can share lived experiences and they don't feel isolated, they don't feel alone, and we begin to normalize those conversations for them. Workplaces in the U.S. Aren't there yet. They're failing. We have less than 20% of organizations that have any type of menopause support, and yet women that we have surveyed expect it. We expect workplace support for this stage of life. That gap between what women need and what women are given is exactly where good careers begin to silently, quietly fall apart. That's why the executive order matters. Access to education, access to menopause specialized care. Dr. Bush will come up in just a moment and share a little bit with you. And also menopause support. Menopause support is critical so that women can ask for the support that they need. That support is not charity. It is proven win for employees, employers, and should I dare say our community at large. I have the privilege of leading Medovia. We have the first and only menopause-friendly accreditation program in the U.S., and together with our global partners across the pond, we have helped hundreds of employers over the course of the past 8 years become menopause-friendly in every sector, size, and trait. We know what works, and we know that when employers introduce menopause support and they pull many levers, that there is high return for everyone. This is a momentous moment. I am so thrilled to be here today. This is history in the making, and I just want to thank you one more time for changing the trajectory of the workplace for midlife women.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Bush?
Hi, I'm Naomi Bush. I'm a physician. I own Seattle Menopause Medicine. I'm located in Green Lake, Washington, just around the corner. And I also just recently opened up a second office in Bellevue with Dr. Dvorak, sitting over here. And I'm here today to talk about more of the patient perspective and also the medical perspective. So when I went into menopause medicine, it was probably only around 3 years ago. And people were, I was at the height of my career, I would say. And I had previously owned a primary care practice and had moved on into corporate medicine. And I was with my friends, and we were at a book club. and my friends were talking about being in their 40s, and my favorite friend, or my favorite comment was, we will not go down silently. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I was also in my early 40s, and she said, perimenopause, menopause. I've been reading this book by Jen Gunther, The Menopause Manifesto, and I think that we should talk about it. And they all looked at me, because I'm the doctor in this group of women. And I was like, well, don't look at me, I don't know. And that's like an unacceptable answer in medicine is, not that I don't know, but that I'm not willing to find out, right? And so I went home and I started researching and I started reading about it. And I was like, well, this is cool. It's kind of about me too, because, I'm a woman. And then I started reading and then I thought, this isn't that hard. Let me find some place for my friends to go. And it was like a desert out there. There was a few clinicians at some of the major hospitals. Wait lists were like 6 months long, maybe a year. There were a couple telehealth companies, but I wasn't really sure about their reputation. And so I turned to my husband, who's always been very supportive of me, and I said, well, maybe I could do this. And he was like, of course you can do this. You're smart. And this is much more fun than corporate medicine turned out to be. So anyway, so I spent like the next year and a half like learning everything I could know about menopause, went to every conference, went to the Menopause Society, went to ISWISH, which is about, the study of sexual women's health. I went to the International Menopause Society. I went to the European Menopause and Andropause Society. I looked to the Australians. I looked to the Canadians. I looked everywhere I could for menopause education. But what I didn't do or wasn't able to do was look in my backyard. I wasn't able to find classes or CME or colleagues even who were willing to talk to a family medicine physician about menopause. So anyway, long story short, I opened my clinic in 2023, and since then I've treated over 1,000 women and who are both perimenopause, menopause, premenopause. There's a lot of P's out there, that's what I like to say, except for the one, But anyway, so I went on this journey. And so what I have seen in my practice is that, and it was pretty astounding too, because women in their 50s, who are we? Who are women in their 50s? We have sometimes raised a family, but definitely supported a family. So, and they like to call us the sandwich generation. But I like to think of it, rather than being sandwiched between people we should care about, right? I like to think about as being sandwiched between things we should be doing and things we want to be doing. We're also on the verge of starting sort of a revolution in ourselves, right? We're becoming this other person, this person that we've always sort of didn't even know existed, right? So we're still taking care of our families. We're raising up into our careers if we have a career, or maybe we're homeschooling our children who are now probably smarter than us. And then all of a sudden you have all of these symptoms that April just spoke about. We can't think. We can't remember, where we put the milk. We can't, definitely can't do calculus. And then leading a board meeting, sometimes you can't remember the next word you're going to say and you have to stop. Right? This does lead people to leave the workplace. They don't even know what's happening, and they come to me and they say, I'm done. And I say, no, you need FMLA. And then I turn to FMLA, and menopause is not a disability, right? A lot of workplaces wouldn't understand if I put menopause as the reason for FMLA. So instead I use, symptoms, anxiety, depression. I'm labeling people with things they don't necessarily have, but could qualify for, right? But in the end, I need to give them time, time away from all of these pressures, that we could just focus on them and just try out some medications, because one size does not fit all, right? And work through the problem. And then after, believe it or not, FMLA is a perfect amount of time, because when we start treating you 3 months later, people feel better. I mean, people feel better the minute they go into the parking lot. They call me, they text me, they tell me they feel validated by having an hour with me. And so that sort of just brings me to my last point, which is education. So we're talking here about this executive order to educate the people, who are experiencing menopause. But I also think there needs to be an education, not just blaming the physicians and the healthcare community, but also just education in general. Everybody should understand menopause. All people with ovaries go through menopause. That means, yes, half the people in the world will go through menopause. 6,000 women a day enter menopause in the U.S. 2 million women a year enter menopause in the U.S. So yes, we all should understand this. Whether you're a cardiologist, a physical therapist, an oncologist, everybody should understand a little bit about what women are going through, right? So we can have more empathy and direct them towards care. But that comes with time. And so we can educate our physicians and our clinicians, our therapists and our physical therapists, but what we need for those people to have is time. When they return back to their jobs, they need time in those jobs to actually treat women appropriately. 12 minutes, it's not enough. I spend an hour with my patients. I'm out of network with insurance companies. And so I get to spend as much time as I want with patients. So I also think this is the beginning. This is awesome. Like, I'm so excited about this executive order, but I also would say this is the beginning. Like, we need more, right? We need more time with our patients. We need to look at how women's health is reimbursed. We need to look at how do we get the medications to the patients. They're not covered. They're not covered. We need coverage, right? We need people to understand that that if I go to get an asthma inhaler for $20, I should be able to get my estrogen patches for $20. Anyway, so that's it. So I'll get off. I'll stop talking. But I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I feel very passionate about perimenopause and menopause. I know Dr. Dvorak does as well. We couldn't actually do what we do without the support of the community as well, and actually without people like April who are keeping my patients like in their jobs. I'm just like super happy to be here. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Childs, and I am a small business owner. I have 7 employees, and I provide back-end operational consulting. So my team, we work with the Seattle Chamber of Commerce, where I have the privilege of serving as their CFO for the last 15 years. And we also run an association health plan. So I talk to employers every single day, and a lot of times around health-related issues, around resources they're needing in the employee benefits space. And that is why I'm very excited about this. So I come here today not just as an employer and a business representative, but as a woman in my 40s. And I feel very fortunate because I had friends around me, I had leaders around me who did talk about this. So when I started noticing things and was getting 3 hours of sleep and not functioning the next day, I knew where to turn. I knew I had options. And that's really important. We've talked a lot about information here, right? Awareness is that first step towards progress. I look back on my own life, and even 12 years ago when I had my first child, there were no breastfeeding stations in the airport, right? The bathroom stall was my option, right? That we have made progress because we have had awareness to that issue. And I view this as a step in that direction. It's not just a women's health issue. This is also a workforce issue and an economic opportunity. Women in their late 30s up to 50s are in our prime time, right? We have so much to offer from a leadership perspective, from a knowledge perspective. And to be able to step into that gap with confidence and to know our options is a game changer. Hearing the other speakers, I'm also really proud that the health plans that we represent, that we offer our employers, we have coverage for perimenopause and menopause and the treatment. So, again, that fortunate ability. And again, when I talk to employers, that's one of the first things I talk about. I'm like, and perimenopause and menopause. I always slow down and all of the women perk up, right? So to have this conversation, to start bringing awareness, to bring that conversation and normalization is a great step. To be able to sit in a business meeting and talk about this with colleagues, share experiences, and walk alongside women, maybe across the table, across the aisle in different industries, is great. One of the things I do want to, as an employer, really point out that I appreciate about this executive order is it is not another mandate on employers. It is the state leading by example. Though that example will bring resources where employers like me can then look at those examples, look at those case studies, those policies, and have resources to be able to implement in my own environment without a mandate. It's really leading by example and doing the right thing, and I very much appreciate that, Governor. And with that, let's walk over here and sign the executive order.
We do. Do we have one more speaker?
Yeah. And my apologies, we have a late arrival here due to miscommunication. We've got Sharika Carter with Washington State Labor Council.
Oh, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Good morning.
morning, everyone. My name is Shrika Carter. I use she, her pronouns, proud to serve as Secretary Treasurer of the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO. The WSOC is the voice of labor in Washington, representing over 680,000 workers across Washington. So thank you so much, Governor Ferguson, for your leadership on this important issue, because the labor movement has always fought for workplaces that recognize the full humanity of workers, from workplace safety protections to family leave to pregnancy accommodations and fair scheduling. We know that when workers have the support they need, they are better able to succeed on the job and contribute their talents to the economy. In Washington, we've already shown what is possible when we listen to workers and act, and labor unions helped lead the effort to pass legislation ensuring that workers on construction sites have access to clean restrooms and facilities that meet the needs of workers who menstruate and lactate. That was about dignity, health, and making sure our workplaces reflect the realities of the people who do the work. And today's executive order builds on that same principle. Menopause is a natural stage of life that millions of women experience, yet it has remained largely invisible in workplace policy and practice. Too many women have had to navigate symptoms like insomnia, brain fog, hot flashes, all of that without support. And for unions, this issue is about dignity, retention, and worker power. And so we should not be losing skilled, experienced workers from our workplaces because we fail to create environments where they can thrive. So at a time when employers are working to recruit and retain experienced employees, supporting workers through menopause is simply smart workforce policy. And so we also know that the challenges do not affect everyone equally. Women, workers, particularly Black women, women of color, and workers in physically demanding jobs often face additional barriers throughout their careers. So addressing menopause in the workplace is part of a broader commitment to equity, ensuring that all workers have the opportunity to advance, lead, and retire with dignity. And so this executive order really just recognizes a simple truth. Workers do not leave their life experience at the workplace door. And so Washington has long been a leader in standing up for workers, and today we take another important step forward. So thank you, Governor Ferguson, for your commitment to ensuring that every worker is seen, valued, and respected and supported throughout every stage of their working life.
Thanks so much.
First, a round of applause for all of our wonderful speakers who did a fantastic job. That was really great. And what we're going to do now, and we're happy to take some questions from the media afterwards if you have them, and also, of course, for one-on-ones if that's easier for you. So we're going to transition now to sign the executive order. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to do it here. Maybe we'll slide the table down a little bit. And what we're going to ask folks to maybe do is take a few steps this way. Does that work? And try and balance this out. Okay. Let's see if we can pull this off. Awesome. Okay. And where's as close as you want to be? Yeah. Come on in. Yeah. Okay. And where's Annie, by the way? Is she close by? There. Where'd Annie go? Oh, yeah, you're right behind me. Okay. Right behind me. Okay. All right. Are we ready? All right, everybody, let's do this. Woo! There it is. And let's hold this up. All right, you ready? Here we go. If I got that the right way, there we go. Hey, a round of applause for everybody who made this happen. A lot of hard work. Thanks so much. And are we good? Are we good on pictures? Okay. I'm going to slip back up here. And there's there is a tradition for bill signings or signing of executive order for those who've been to those before that that the pen is handed off typically to, if it's a bill, for example, to the sponsor of the legislation. That's pretty typical. Hard to choose one among so many, but how about our host? Annie should get the pen. What do you think? So I think what we're trying to do is, if folks have questions, we're happy to answer those. If folks have any, so let me just open up real quick if folks have questions. Otherwise, we're available afterwards as well. Going once, going twice. We're good. So we're available afterwards as well. We'll take some photos. But again, to Annie, so much for, I mean, really just a lovely spot and a fantastic business. Congratulations on 10 years. And thanks to everybody who's worked on this executive order, including my staff, who, you know, I can't remember how long ago we first started talking about this, but I have a great staff who does great work, and they bring important issues to me, right, based on their own experiences and the folks they interact with. So this is a really good example of that, having a great team who, conversation with folks who are here, bring great issues. Every elected official knows our staffs are really key. Also, I know Council Member Sarah Perry, I know is in the House somewhere. Okay, so I want to make sure. So to many elected officials like Senator Orwell and Councilmember Perry for their leadership as well. So thanks so much, everybody, and we'll be hanging around for a little bit. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Hey, thanks so much. Yeah. Hey, thanks so much. Good to see you. It's so good to see you. Thanks for being here.